Welcome to Talk Destiny with Vedda Jo. I'm Devetta Smith. We're going to be talking about better habits for a better you. And Talk Destiny with Vedda Jo is about helping women shine in their business with marketing tips as well as lead generation and scripts to help them get their businesses started and how to adopt habits that are successful people and launch their business expertise with success. And so on today, we do have a special guest with us, and she's going to be back with us. We had some problems just a minute ago, but she's going to be back with us, Racine Rikard from Primerica. She's going to be talking to us today about financial habits. And she is an entrepreneur. She's a coach and mentor. She works in finance and she does insurance and investments. And so she's going to be coming back and she's going to be talking to us about a habit audit and what that looks like for each of us. So we can kind of get a glimpse of it as she begins to share with us. We're going to be talking today. Welcome back, Racine. Welcome back. Sorry about that.
Thank you. No
so,
problem.
so today we're going to be talking about two kinds of habits. And this is something that I put together because as I did the research and study on looking at habits, I realized that really there are two basic habits that we have: survival habits and strategic habits. And survival habits are basically, what we learn as a child, just to live and to live out every day. It's an innate things that we learn from our parents, from our surroundings, from our environment. But I call those survival habits. And then there's strategic habits that we learn throughout life when we leave mom and dad and we go out on our own and, we're meeting friends and we kind of get, used to living without that covering that we had in the survival habits. But strategically, they're purposeful, right? Those are habits that we have to adopt in order to meet certain goals, expectations, maybe in the workplace, maybe within the workforce or even in the market. As an entrepreneur, you definitely have to build habits in order to meet the goals and get to where you want to be. But so we're going to be talking about that today: survival habits versus strategic habits. And we're going to be focused more on strategic habits as we move forward. And so, even in developing habits, and I think it's very important that if you don't recognize the habits that you have currently, it's most likely you're going to keep doing the same habits you've been doing and will never change. But
That's right.
there is an element in us if we want to do better and go further and do well in business and life, period. We have to examine, the habits that we've developed over the years. And then as we begin to change them and to recognize what they are, it's good to have a goal in mind. Right. Habits usually have a reward at the end of them. And so, as we begin to switch and understanding and knowing what your goals are and where your focus is, it's good to know what goal you have in mind as you transition into your habits. And so, Racine, I'm talking, but you're more than welcome to jump in at any point in time as we go forward in this,
Okay. Okay.
um, because I respect you highly. You've been in the business for years. We go way back. We're family, but we go way back as I watched you grow in your business throughout the years. And I remember when we first met, and I said, "What you do?" You said Primerica, and I said, "Primerica." You said, "No, no, I do Primerica," and you were so serious about it and was so enthused, and you've done so well in it for years. And so I really want the audience to be able to hear your testimony and the things that you've gone through because I feel you have so much to share in that area.
Yeah.
And so we're going to stop right here and allow you to begin to introduce yourself to the audience and share some of the habits and some of the things about your life that's made you so successful.
I appreciate that. And and as I always start to make sure everybody understands is that I was not born with a silver spoon, nor was osmosis given when it comes to the finance knowledge and tips and all of that.
Right.
This was based on survival mode that you talked about.
Yeah.
Starting after I graduated from college and got my first career job, offer, I realized that hey, what I was paid and what my lifestyle wanted to be just didn't match. And
Right.
so I remember I worked for Harvard of the South here for about 4 or 5 years as a contract accountant and
Mm.
grants and contracts. And so I remember getting paid once a month. And so I remember also that, hey, I was living off credit cards. And I
Mm.
started in the financial industry because I needed help personally to
Yeah.
help me understand how to get out of debt, you know? And
Definitely.
so as a result of that, I started going back. Now I've been in the business for 25 plus years.
Wow.
I realized, hey, the first thing when we're talking about audit, I always now have people think about mentally what is their version of money mindset.
Yes. Yes.
That in and of itself is key.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, you may think it's hokey or whatever, but now I listen to people's mindset when it comes to money.
Yes.
Some people have had money trauma,
Mm.
okay? Some
Yes.
people have had experiences that have cultivated their thoughts about what having money means, okay?
Absolutely.
Or
Yes.
keeping it, all
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to think about for myself while I'm helping others, what was my thoughts on money? And I
Right.
remember, and I share this story as a foundation of what we're going to go through with this conversation, is I
Yes.
remember as a child, my father and mother, high school graduates, no college, but they were hard workers and providers. And I remember going on a trip and I asked my dad for extra money. We were going to Florida. And he was like, look, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
I don't have it. And I remember going on the trip without asking for that additional money. I took
Mm.
what I had built as allowance.
Yes.
And for the weekend in Orlando, when I got back, my dad was like, and I remember before even I got back, we stopped to get dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And before we headed the last stretch home. And I
Right.
remember I only had $2 to my name.
Mm.
And I remember going through the line. I can tell you the name of the restaurant, everything. I remember it vividly.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the line, and I remember getting to the lady at the cashier, and I knew I didn't have all the money. I knew I didn't have it, but I just said somehow, what I was gonna do? I needed to eat.
Right.
Luckily, my girlfriend, was in line, and she said out she had extra money, she paid for it.
Mm.
That was a defining moment for me. And I
Yeah.
said, of many things, I don't ever want that to happen where I was not being able to have for myself.
Yeah.
And I got home and my dad said, did you leave here without any extra money? I was like, yeah, I did. He was like, don't ever do that again. Why didn't you say something? And I was
Mm.
like, Dad, you said you didn't have it.
Right.
We know as kids, don't keep asking
Right.
your parents. Okay.
Right. Right.
And he meant well, but that's what,
Look.
in my psyche, that's what I heard. Don't ask for money.
Right.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
It's not abundant. You
Right.
have it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Lack
Yes.
is what you may have. You
Right.
get it?
I get it. I get it. Been there.
So now here I am as a financial advisor, and I'm sitting down with clients and I'm helping them to get their audit habits
Yeah.
together. But I'm not working on one main thing, which is what are
Mhm.
your thoughts when it comes to money?
Right.
You look at it as something that you'll never have.
Yes.
I hear people say, I'm gonna always be in debt. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I have to teach people how to learn and think differently. You can
Yes.
be out of debt. It just takes some different habits. It
Yes.
just different mindset.
Absolutely.
So when I sit down with a client and we talked about that habit audit, and you mentioned something survival, okay? And so, yeah, during the initial, we know that finance was not taught in schools, okay? It taught us home ec and then home ec how to write on a checkbook to spend money,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
There was no course in growth, okay?
Right. Right.
So one of the things I talk about as a strategic part of my audit,
Mhm.
I don't like the word budget, okay? Because
No
in and
budget.
of itself, budget can be constraining. It's a bad word for some people. But
Right.
what I do talk about is allocating your resources, preparing to be better or
Yes.
to have more. So I
Absolutely.
start with where you are. And I said, do the 70-20 or the 70-30 rule.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
70% of your lifestyle expenses, we go through that.
Yes.
Then the other 30 of 10 of that is for tithing, charity, okay?
Right.
And then 20 is for yourself, saving and investing. There is a difference between saving and investing.
There's a difference. Yes.
There is a big difference, okay? All right. And so that 70/30, I start concentrating on, hey, let's look at where you're spending your 70. All right. Because where you are and where you want to be, sometimes that's where the problem is.
Right.
We're trying to spend 80 when you only have 50.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So
And so
easily.
I've been
Yes.
there. And
Yes.
so when I do that, that's where I really find sometimes the biggest hindrance is
hmm
looking where that 70% is. It's not saying you can't have a great lifestyle,
hmm
okay? But you can. It's just how you go about building that lifestyle of the 70%.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So when somebody is getting ready to, I know when I started my business, I definitely had to build some habits, right? Because like you said, I grew up with that same philosophy. Use the credit cards. That's how you get what you need, the credit cards. And cash was just put aside somewhere or just it was spent, you know. And I too got into a situation where, I'm in the grocery store and got enough to pay for the bills, and it does happen. And you do literally reach those points in life where you say, enough is enough. I will not be broke another day of my life. This will
Exactly.
never happen to me again. I will
Exactly.
always make sure that I have more than enough. You start
Exactly.
to make those confessions, and now you got to put some logistics behind the confessions, right?
Right, right.
You got to find some power behind it because the words get you going, but you need some stuff underneath it to keep you there.
Gotcha.
Right. And so really for me, you're right. It was a mind change. It was a mind change from how I spent my money. That there's some things I just don't need. Even when I go to the grocery store, I don't need to buy up everything in the grocery store. I don't need all that food in the grocery store. I had to cut back, And boy, what a difference does it make up on the bill. But I'm just saying those are the kind of things, that you look at to say, I need to change the way I even spend the money that I have, even with little. You got to change the way you spend your finances. And so let's talk a little bit about, I'm going into business, and now I've got to readjust, how I look at my finances. Can you talk a little bit about that and
Okay.
how people will go about kind of making the mind switch or what to switch to really,
Gotcha.
and go in that direction?
Gotcha. And really, there is no difference, really. Okay.
Yep.
First and foremost, I always tell people, which is, we talk about habits. One of
Yes.
the biggest issues is we pay a bill first versus actually setting aside an emergency fund retirement first.
Yes.
That, of course, you're tithing.
Yeah.
Those, okay, tithing or your charity
I can't
or
say
your
everybody tithes, so, but you're setting aside 30.
whoever your higher power is,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
giving part.
Right.
The other 20%, you need to start to save first and foremost before you pay a bill. Pay yourself first.
Right.
That's unequivocal, whether you're personally or a business owner. Even as a business owner, putting aside a business emergency fund too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some things you can do personally. And then as a business owner, I suggest, hey, you know what your fixed expenses are that you have to pay for your business? For
Yeah.
example, I know I have office rent. I know I have office utilities. I know that outside of that, I have to pay for the mortgage here personally at my house and for the utilities here. Those are the givens that I next make sure I
Right.
pay for. And your
Right.
automobile, because you got to make sure you can get to the client. Okay.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and maintenance on those things.
Yeah.
So, business owner always make sure, that's done first. The second thing also make sure is that, hey, as a business owner and as an individual personal, protecting your income.
Absolutely.
And most people don't want to talk about it, but life insurance. There's life insurance you can do for your business, which is called a key man policy,
Yeah.
and you can do one for your family. That's after make sure you're saving. A good reason, and I'm gonna go backwards for a second. When I say saving, think about during COVID. many people had to shut down not only their business but their households and not couldn't go to work. And just think of what the difference would be having 6 to 8 months of your salary in your bank account to
Hmm.
buffer you for what we were down, what, 12 months?
Right, right.
So think from a business perspective, your business owner, you still got to pay office rent.
Yeah. Now,
You pay the light bill, gas bill, even though you may not have been there, that still had to go
it still
on.
has to be paid.
The
Now, the
mortgage,
other
yeah.
everything has to be paid regardless of whether you're there or not. The bills got to be taken care of. And on
Mhm.
the flip side of that too is those people that are going online to do online business, like their entire business is online, and there are expenses there as well.
Yes,
Whether you're,
exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
going basic, your Wi-Fi set up, making sure you got good Wi-Fi set up, making sure, yeah, the simple things, even comes to even the advertising that you do. If you do advertising expenses, I don't care what business you go into. If you want to be successful, if you want to make a certain amount, and you're going to have some advertising expenses, even getting an accountant or a tax, especially a tax accountant. You need one of those for sure, to help you along the way, because even as you're setting up your business, you need to know what benefits that you have, even as you're setting up your business. Is very key. As you begin to, switch over, you
Right.
know,
Gotcha.
from, because you got your online business and you got your brick and mortar businesses, and they still
Yep.
both have experience expenses that they have to keep watch over.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I put in here, you can speak to this better than I can, Racine, but one of the habits that I talk about are personal habits, right? We got habits that we got to be punctual, sincere, factual. These are kind of more the positive side of the house of the habits that we create. Be
Mhm.
trustworthy, forthright, truthful, optimistic, respectful, accepting. All of these things help a business, especially entrepreneurs, in a positive light if you have all these attributes. And
Mhm.
then on the flip side of that, some of the things that can go against you, if your mannerisms, some of those things may not be, received very well. If you're a procrastinator, you got anger management, you're a gossiper, all these things that we don't think about
Mhm.
that often happen in our lives, and we think, maybe that's something I need to change, because it kind of rubs off, right, in other areas of our
Mhm.
lives. So that's looking at personal habits, and then looking at, and I like Stephen Covey, right? Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. But looking at this, and I know this is old and everybody's seen it before, but the seven things are true and they are very helpful. Being proactive, begin with the end in mind. We talked about that. Put first things first. What are your priorities? What's important to you, even as you go forward? And think about the win-win. What's the win-win in a situation? Because it's not about I can get you, and then you leave the other one without. Because the whole point of being an entrepreneur is to find people that you can help, and also you make a profit. No, that's what entrepreneurs do. They go
Mhm.
out, they help people, and they make a profit from that. And it's hard to say, but that's true. And five is seek first to understand and then be understood, which means you have to know, and you said this earlier, Racine, know what the other person needs, know what their needs are, where they need to go, and what they, especially when you're trying to find your niche,
Mhm.
right? You got to look at what other people, what their needs are, and understanding that. Synergizing allows us to create new alternatives. That's not always easy. That's not always easy, but it helps, right?
It
And
does.
then just sharpen the saw. Then to be effective, we need to donate our time. And so there are times when even as entrepreneurs, we give, to help others. It's not always, and it feels good to help others. It feels good to do for others that they can't do for themselves. And so,
Mhm.
highly effective people have good habits.
Mhm. And
Have good habits. Yes, ma'am.
and I'm gonna add in one of the things when we're talking about personally, even as building a business, I always wanted to make sure that the people that I meet, I want them to be treated how I would want to be treated. And
Absolutely.
so, even here, when I'm, meeting everybody and being on, and presenting, I'm always here to bring my genuine self. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, what you see is what you get. I'm very transparent. Okay.
Yes.
and humble first and foremost. So
Absolutely.
I want that because in what I do every day, people want to know that you care. Yeah, they want to know you know what you know, but they just want to know that you care. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so for everybody building a business, it is not overnight that you're going to make six figures, et cetera, et cetera. So it is not this, it's what they call a marathon, or a sprint, not a marathon. What is it?
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
really is. It really is.
So three things that I've built my business on in a great
Yes.
tenant is God first,
Yes.
your higher power,
Yes.
family second,
Yes.
business third,
Absolutely.
in that order.
It
As
has to
a
be.
result, the success of everything comes because people see your genuine self. What
Absolutely.
you project inside shows on the outside.
It really does.
It
It really
naturally
does.
draws people to you, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we talk about mind, will, and emotions. All that has to be in play with yourself, right? All that has to be aligned. And so I put this in here because it goes with what we've been talking about, right? The
Okay.
habits
All
that
right.
you have. And so I
I got
said, money in the bank is based on your financial habits, whether
it
you
is.
have it or not. And I can say that for my own. I know how my habits were. When the bank account wasn't full, it was based on my habits. It was based on
Uh-huh.
my financial habits. I had to switch that up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I, it was so funny that you had this slide up because yesterday I was having a conversation with my husband, and we were talking about lifestyle, you
Mhm.
know, and I said, you know, where we've come from and where we are going is, just growth, period. And
Right.
so, there are people who make great money, okay, in our mind, but sometimes if they're not doing the right things,
Yes.
personally,
Absolutely.
professionally, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's six figures, two, three, 400. There are
Abs-
$200,000 earners out here who are struggling. Okay,
Yes.
it
Yes.
ain't just the ones who have been a $25,000, $35,000 a year salary.
Yes.
It ain't just
Absolutely. That is so true. That is so true. Yes.
okay. So when we talk about semantics about money in the bank, you know, somebody who got $10,000 in the bank think, "Wow, I'm doing it. I'm doing it." There's
Yeah.
somebody who got $200,000 in the bank saying, "Oh my God, I'm doing it, but I ain't doing it." So it's
Yeah.
tough
All
opposite.
about the mindset. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's what you're doing with it that
Absolutely.
makes the difference. Are
That
you
makes all the difference.
saving? Are you really spending more on debt? Because I said debt is not an asset.
No. Not at
Debt
all.
is not. That's a hashtag. Okay, debt is not an asset. I
Absolutely.
want to have assets that are building generational to generational wealth
Yeah.
for later because I'm planting trees that I will never get to sit under.
Mm. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
I feel the same way. Yeah.
so those habits. So literally, you can look at your money, and if more outlay is going toward debt, that's a
Yeah.
problem. Okay,
Absolutely.
and if you're saving more than you're spending, that's a great start. But also build assets that generate income.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
another area for that. So just wanted to add
Absolutely. That is so true. Thank you for that. I
that.
totally
Mhm.
agree. And the other one I said was allowing your money to compound takes good work habits.
It will really, where you are now, next month you want to grow and by say 5-10%.
Mm,
Keep track. For business owners, we have to keep track of our progress.
absolutely.
I hired a coach last year. Even me, I don't. I think I want to get better. I hired a coach, and
Yeah.
I took the money outlay to do that because I know it's going to be great dividends. But
Mhm.
one of the things he put me on accountability. So through every day, I have an accountability with him to make
Yeah,
sure that I am doing the things that grow my business.
absolutely. That's
Because
good.
During COVID, we sat home. It's easy at lunchtime to take a 2 hour lunch. Okay.
Yes.
It's easy that, hey, we don't work for nobody else. We get up at 10 o'clock.
Right. Right.
Or it's easy to go, I'm guilty that this is my downtime. But I'm easy to sit in front of the TV and watch NCIS reruns over and over.
Yeah.
You know, and so I had to realize I had to have an accountability partner. As a
Yeah.
result, I had a great growth during the pandemic than I did any other time in my career because of
Yeah.
that focus. So, but accountability to somebody outside of yourself is part of that
Absolutely.
compound with your good work habits you're talking about.
Absolutely. I've had to have coaches, and actually, that's like my thing for every year is to have a coach,
Hmm.
because you're always wanting to go to the next level. And one of the things I believe that you're never meant to do it alone. Right? You're
Exactly.
never meant to do it alone. There's always somebody that can help you get to the next level. And the point is stretching yourself. You always want to stretch yourself because if you get to a point where, this is boring, I don't, well, then it's time to stretch.
Yes.
It's time
Yes.
to stretch. So that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. And
Hmm.
so the last thing I had, and I think that we're coming to the end of this, but I want to just say that I thank you so much for this time and just coming together and talking about financial habits. And starting my own business, one of the key things, you can have all the great ideas, you can have all the talents and expertise, but if the finances, the habit of the finances aren't in place, it can be a detriment to your business. So I want to thank you for joining us today and being a part of this talk. And hopefully we can come back and do it again. This won't be the last time. Um,
No, it
we get
won't. It
together.
won't. And just a couple of tips. The last, to leave everybody with is, you
Yes.
know, definitely do a financial plan. Not only for you personally,
Yes.
um, adding to something you said earlier, having I said your Fab Five group. You know,
Yes.
these
Yes.
are your inner circle. They're
Absolutely.
your accountant, they're your legal representative, they're
Yeah.
your financial planner, they're somebody who your mental health coach. Making
Yes.
sure you have those Fab Five, and then three, making sure that you are saving and looking at where you're going. And then
Absolutely.
the most important, which was key too during the COVID pandemic, was I had business owners who did not have a succession plan. They
Mm,
didn't have something written down that, hey, what is it that my partner needs to do in the
right.
event that I don't show up?
Right.
How we're transitioning. So that's key too for you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is key, those five things. So thank you so much, Racine. I'm going to keep those five things. I have probably three of the five things,
Okay.
but absolutely, you need to have all of them in play. And so I
Absolutely.
want to give you opportunity to let people know how to get a hold of you, how they reach out to you in your
Sure.
business. Yes.
Sure. Um, you can definitely reach out. We have at Racine_Rikard on Instagram,
Okay.
and our Facebook business page is at Rikard Dream Team. That's RIKARD Dream Team.
Okay.
And our website is www.racinerikard.com.
And we'll get that information out there for you as well.
Enjoy.
I want to make sure that I don't forget how you all can connect with me as well at devettasmith.com, as well as make sure if you're on YouTube, you should subscribe to the channel to help us out and give us some ideas and tips on how we can share more information on the habits and building your business. I also want to let you know there is a free guide available to you in the offers, and so make sure that you're able to look for the a free gift. There's 5 ways to develop your habits, better habits, and so you can also get access to that. It's a free download. Just click on the link there, and then we also have available to you. Oh, I also have available to those of you that are starting your own business. Y'all also have access to free content for your business, and it's actually IDPLR. And so there you do have a link to that if you want to access that as well. It's also in the chat and the link for you. And so please reach, these are talks to be able to get you to grow your business and get you where you want to be. All right. So
All
thank you so
right.
much. I appreciate you all being here, and we look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
All right. Enjoyed you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you so much.
All
Take
righty.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye.